Hi, James.
He's a director. He makes movies. Now he's on a show with Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson.
All right, guys, so I am James from the Frame of Minute, and I am back, and we have our guest, our lovely guest. We have returning friend of ours, Ben Johnson. We have a new friend with us. We have Jacob from Kaiju United. So, Uwe, last time we talked in our last interview, we were talking about First Shift.
Yeah, the first shift, what is basically we follow through one shift two cops who have to work that day the first time together.
Now First Shift is finally out.
Cheers.
This is a big night.
The city is my future.
And I know you've been so busy because they're choosing the new Pope now, and I'm sure the Pope is watching First Shift before he comes out and greets the people. Tell us what's been going on with First Shift, man, and then, with Paramount Plus and the other things.
I'm doing press right now in Italy, UK, and Germany for First Shift. It's coming out now. So very delayed, I have to say. In Latin America, it's also coming out now. And in US, it was very big on Paramount Plus and Showtime. It worked very well. I think 20 weeks in various top 10 charts. That was good. I asked Paramount Plus to give us money for part 2 and part 3. They said right now they cannot do anything because they have chaos. Because the takeover from Skydance at Paramount, and then you have Donald Trump's $20 billion lawsuit against CBS. If he wins this, he owns Paramount if he wins it, because they will be never able to pay this. So it's kind of, they're all scared to make any decisions. I'm doing, and I'm very sad about it, but we developed 2 scripts to do First Shift 2 and 3. And looking for co-producers to shoot in September in New York again. The actors are game, they want to do it. I think the story needs that it continues. It's this kind of film what could end up in a TV series also, but now where if nobody gives me money, I just make films. It's easier to sell also. I hope we really can get something going, so I love the film because it's not so dark.
Very tame from your style. It's really tame.
I found it very where a film like we talked about Postal last time. So a film like Postal could be very divisive, is very sort of in your face in a lot of moments. This, a much wider, broader audience, and particularly in America, people love cop stories.
Boy's up to no good.
Man, I like doing illegal card games.
I'm more, getting to the point. I'm going to investigate this illegal go fish thing.
We love that. You put a gun in, you add a dog. Holy geez, you got a license to print cash. And this was at its core a very interesting sort of character study. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I thought it was a wonderful film.
Me too.
No, thank you. I mean, I think I was lucky with the characters too, right? So I mean, when I wrote it, and then I wrote all that episodes, the mafia killing, the brother who kills himself, whatever. And then Gino Pesi contacted me and said, I'm interested in that story. And I basically hired him first. He brought Kristen Renton in. And they have just the best chemistry together.
Getting to know each other, bonding, getting tight.
And it's this kind of... what you had initially in Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon comedies, or and in the very early first now Bad Boys or First Lethal Weapon, this kind of films. And that was also the reason I wanted to do a cop movie, because recently, in the last 7-8 years, all that movies are getting unwatchable for me. You know, the new Bad Boys, whatever. It's just like, I don't want another $200 million Bad Boys movie. I want a classic Bad Boys movie where you don't have 30 minutes shootouts, where you feel like, give a shit about the shootouts. I'm not even interested who gets shot, whatever. It's like, it's getting so much money spent on this kind of, we have to spend all that money because otherwise the audience will not watch the film. I think it's wrong. You know, I mean, that's the thing,
Yes.
you know.
You're right.
You don't have to do this.
100%.
It's just like a waste of money and resources and time for the audience who likes films that are 100 minutes long, and you finally have a life.
You're absolutely right. For lack of a better term, and James will stop me here, a lot of these big budget Hollywood things that are coming in, 180 minutes, 3 hours of your life, it feels very performative and quite masturbatory at a certain point in time. On board.
Yeah, I agree, and it's I kind of miss that era of movies. Like, I mean, I'm 27. I'm a bit on the younger side, but when I was a kid 20 years ago, a lot of these blockbusters, you were in and you were out.
Yeah.
It was just a breeze. Is that why you decided to just make this like a day in the life of these cops? So you weren't going on those $100 million adventures in the Bad Boys. They go all over the city, all over the globe. Here it's just the city and that's it. You know what I mean?
There are a lot of cop shows and TV, but they always have this one case, and I felt I want to do a movie where you don't know what will happen. And if we do more movies, you still don't know what will happen every day, because it's like, that's what the cop's life is. It could be that there's a day you just have 2 parking violations, but there are other days you have the full shootout and bank robbery. And I think that's the interesting thing. And you maybe stay on, like, if we would do part 2 and part 3, of course, we will try to get Valenti, the mafia guy who shot the guys on the roof. That story will kind of continue because they trying to find him. And but there will be new cases too, where you don't know, what's happening. This case by case, like one episode, one case, already a lot of times after 10, 15 minutes how this all plays out, and then it gets kind of boring. Yeah.
Redundant, predictable. That's absolutely correct. But Uwe, and all right, so I watched it again last night, and exactly what you're saying is you don't know what these 2 cops, with Kristen Renton and Gino, are gonna do. Like there's a scene where they deliver a box to a guy, and then the next scene there's a guy who has a heart attack in a grocery store, which made it feel more realistic to me. And I don't know, I felt it was probably one of the more realistic cop movies I've ever seen, and then back to Kristen and Gino's banter with each other. I kind of like how you made Kristen's character like the click-clack, you call it, click-clack influencer. and then at the end she kind of becomes like a badass, but not like she's shooting 2 guns at the same time. She's kicking down doors. Like it feels real to me.
To that click clack sort of talk, when she is getting, and it's earlier on in the film, when she is getting nothing from him and they're trying to learn each other, and she's like, isn't this what we're supposed to do, share the small talk or whatever? And then when she pulls nothing out of him, she's just like, well, I'm this, that, I'm divorced, I'm over 40, my ass looks like a 25-year-old, this is why I'm up here. It's that level of info dump, and it's in her performance of that I found myself just giggling. And additionally, making the city a character. My bigger, broader question would be, how was it shooting in the city?
I think there are two sides to it, right? The good thing in New York is it's so chaotic and big, and that nobody really cares what you're doing. You can go in the subway and shoot and nobody cares. If you would officially ask, can we shoot in the subway? They would say, no, go in the subway and shoot. There is nobody who stops you doing it. And the New Yorkers also don't look into the camera or something. They don't care. That's the good thing. You know, they don't wave in the camera or whatever. And that's the great thing in New York, that you get away with a lot. And on the other hand, the negative side is, of course, the total chaos. And if you do driving scenes, you lose yourself all the time. Because, of course, we had 3-4 cars trying to follow the police car or trying to be in front of the police car. And then it doesn't, like the first traffic jam or the first light comes, they go, we go, total chaos, you know. And then you're like on the walkie-talkie, where are you guys? Okay, we turned right. Okay, we turned left. So how we ever get back here? Because New York also is like one-way roads all the time. So you have to go parallel around. That costs a lot of time. And that's the disadvantage, but it is a love letter to New York. And we did a lot, like me and just the camera guys. We went every day we were off. We had the cameras and we were shooting. We were shooting like like B-roll, you know, when we had that shot where the sun goes down. We did that for hours and hours. We were standing there, the harbor, you know, like Times Square. That more guerrilla filmmaking that brings this kind of craziness of New York together, I think, in the film too. For example, I feel it's very important when they bring Bullet to the hospital.
Yeah.
Right? That shows the classic work, that it's fucking boring. It's because it's not like you cannot arrest somebody and put them in an ambulance and then tells the first aid people, do whatever you want, good boy. Right? No, you have to, because you arrested him, so you have to stay with that guy till he's in the hospital, because from there he should get booked, right? So that's the thing. And I think that's important, this stuff, what a lot of times in this kind of crazy police movies like Bad Boys, all that stuff doesn't exist.
No.
They're always, whatever you shoot out, 80 people injured, whatever, they're going in their sports car just driving away because they have a dinner plan.
So I want to bounce off that a little bit, because earlier you were talking about Bad Boys and how you have these long, boring shootout scenes that just go on way too long. You know, it happens all the time in Marvel, for example. But my question on that is, what makes an exciting action sequence to you?
I mean, I think there are two sides to it. The one is how it's done, you know, and the other one is really if you got the connection to various peoples of the action sequence, then you're invested in it. That's the problem in, for example, I just watched the Tom Hardy thing, Havoc, like on Netflix. You know, the one from Garrett Evans, who did.
Yeah, he did the Raid. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the first, I loved the Raid. I loved the Gangs of London, the TV series, but the film is the same action we know from him. It's like fantastic action, but it's just only action. It's just like, you don't know, like, why they're all fighting in one night against each other. And at one point, I don't care. I don't care about anybody who gets killed. You know, you care about Tom Hardy, but about nobody else. And if nobody else, even a bad guy, has no charisma, and you don't care if they're, you know, like, then the movie has a problem. In Heat, for example, there was that problem not. That was a masterpiece, right? Where that shootout on the street is maybe, in comparison to a lot of shootouts we watched in the last 10 years, not the biggest shootout ever, but it will be in our mind as the biggest shootout ever, because you were invested in every single person shooting at each other.
To your point about shootouts, so this is great. I read this somewhere 1,000 years ago, but the OK Corral, for the longest amount of time, the shootout at the OK Corral was one of the biggest real moments that was depicted on film. And every time it was depicted on film, it came out to like a minute and a half, 2 minutes. I think the longest version of that shootout is roughly 8 minutes long. And I forget what film that it's in. The actual shootout at the OK Corral was over and done with in around 15 seconds.
And I tried always in Rampage, Assault on Wall Street, all the action is doable and is possible, where you have this feeling like, yes, he could pull that off. You know, you never think Bill Williamson would not do this, what he's doing. You know, it's not totally off that he gets away with what he's doing. But you could make that way, way bigger, and you have 100 SWAT teams shooting at him, and he's still getting away, but then it's totally unrealistic. Then it's total bullshit.
So, Uwe, you were not a fan of the Steven Seagal movies, were you?
Too much time, too much effort, too many lives are lost to get this thing in order. We need somebody that can successfully take out the next outcomes. Condor is the best. Make him a perfect.
Not even Seagal did some usable movies. It's not that Steven Seagal was always bad. No, but there were, of course, also very unrealistic sequences in Steven Seagal movies, in Jean-Claude Van Damme movies, and whatever, you know. But you have to make it in a way believable.
I was also going to point out that some of these actors also have action clauses. Like the Vin Diesels and the Rock type of guys, where they can only get hit a certain amount of times. Like, it's in the contract. It's really weird. But I think it's part of that too. Like, action used to be like these stunt guys that, would jump off of horses and stuff. I don't know. That was just an example I pulled out of my ass. But you have these actors that don't want to get hurt. They don't want their characters to feel or experience anything. Like, they're invincible. It's kind of weird.
I think also, like, for example, I had a script. I didn't shoot the movie, but in the end of the film, it's basically a guy who tries to get his kidnapped family back and whatever. He has to kill various people. So in the very end, he makes it, and then he sees they executed his family. Like, so he's not winning, right? So the family's dead. And then he gets just shot from a sniper in the head and is also dead. End credits, right? So very disturbing end. And the guy, like, I asked a very famous, I don't want to say the name now, but I asked a bigger actor to do it. And he said, I love the script, but I could never end like this. My fans expecting I free my family, whatever. I said, yeah, then you're one out of 50,000 Liam Neeson movies. I mean, the thing is to make something different, what people don't expect, where you have an ending where the audience will be like, what the fuck, right? That's the idea. But it looks like they go for, okay, that's against my reputation.
But who would have thought when they saw Terminator 2 when Arnold Schwarzenegger, like, committed suicide at the end? You know what I mean? Can you imagine watching that for the first time and being like, holy shit, the hero's gonna off himself for the sake of humanity? And then we had 4 other sequels that nobody gives a shit about. Uwe, I know you're a big fan of Terminator Genesis, aren't you? So...
Terminator 2 is in my top 10 of all times.
Same.
Right? And because it was extremely emotional in the end.
Yeah.
Where you feel for him, you couldn't fucking believe it. That is what made Terminator 2, besides, like, at that point, the unbelievable effects. I mean, they were like new, basically. It was like similar to the first, like the later Avatar was, of course, the same effect. I was watching the movie theater, I was like, what the fuck, I never saw something like this, that something's possible. But Avatar never had a story I got so connected to, like I got to Terminator 2. Jacob, you work also with Legendary sometimes. That's with, like, King Kong, right? If you don't feel for King Kong, you can not watch that films. Like, and there were some good ones and some bad ones to it, right? So, and I think that, of course, the very old black and white one was good, but also the first one from Legendary was very good. Where you had a real, like, where you feel like you want that King Kong kills all the fucking humans who kidnap him and everything. So, and that worked.
Yeah, for sure. Back to First Shift, though, I do have a question for you, Uwe, about First Shift. When you wrote the script to First Shift, did you have a shootout plan?
No, because I felt like they would be everywhere after the fact in a way, right? So, I mean, you're not right there at the mafia killing and you storm on the rooftop. It would be super unrealistic.
I have a quick question. So sort of like post-Rust, right? And Alec Baldwin killing that lady, the DP. So post-Rust, my question to you is more from sort of like a safety kind of aspect. When you look at what happened with Rust, if you are to do and continue these things, But are you steering away from things like blanks as you move forward?
No.
No.
No, because I think the actors making a better reaction if it actually bangs and if somebody kind of shoots at them. I think at Rust, it was just a completely idiotic armorer. She should never be an armorer. I mean, if you have an experienced armorer, right? So, I mean, what should happen? That they had live rounds, like real rounds. What she said she never had the real guns, real ammunition, but she had the real ammunition because they were shooting in the desert for fun when they had time off. And that's proven, right? So, and I think on a film set cannot be real ammunition. It cannot, no real rounds. So you have that problem, you don't have that problem. So, and if you have an experienced armorer, it's the CGI muzzle flashes and the even worse, the CGI blood effects are horrible. And I think the actor need to react to the gunshot. If you have a rubber gun and somebody yells from outside, bam, 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 right? You're not getting the acting out there because sometimes you see that surprise face from the actor when the script goes. That's happening in real when you get shot. You know, like you will surprise on yourself, like what the fuck, you know, like, and then you collapse. And I did so many rounds of ammunition in my movies with so many scripts and so many live rounds, and we never had an accident.
Well, I did want to ask, like, through all this nonsense of the industry, what keeps you motivated to keep making films after you return to making them? Like, is it just the love of the craft? Is it the love of the art form?
No, I think it's the process of making a movie. You know, like to enjoy all stadiums of it, from having an idea or having a script, getting collaborators that to say, look, we do that all together. Let's get it going, to shoot the film, to post the film, and then comes the very sad part, the distribution of the film. You know, so but till then, it's a great ride, right? So till then, you're it's like very, very positive, and it's you know, when Orson Welles said in one of his interviews, he said, we live in the age of film because film is this all art together. You know, you have, in a way, you write, you have a painting, you have, you know, you do sculpturing, whatever, but it's all in film. You have it all. And then you have even a story and it moves and it's like, and you know, that's unseen. You cannot do it as a stage play. It's so limited on the stage. You know, you cannot sing it all like the opera. I think all the other art forms are limited. Only film can really duplicate the world. Like, you know, can totally duplicate real shit. And even sci-fi stuff, as we all watch also all the time. And I think that's what drives me forward. Like, I fell in love with it, and I really don't want to just call it a day.
Sure. I have a comment I want to tell you, Uwe. So Jacob and I, we have a mutual friend from Thailand who makes movies, and he's an excellent filmmaker. 3 weeks ago, Uwe, and I'm not joking, I've never gotten any, I didn't even know how to react to it, but he just sent me a message. He goes, do you know any producers? Because I need $50,000 on my new movie.
I think if you think it through, distribution now is not the biggest problem because you can just load it up and say, we do a AI dubbing in French, Italian, German, and Spanish. So you have to do like 5 languages. So you do the dubbing and it costs you almost nothing anymore with AI. And subtitling, you can do even more for free, like various languages. So now you load it up worldwide. And then there's only the one question you have to answer for yourself. Why somebody should watch it or finds it to watch it? Because it's not getting promoted. That's the problem. You will be not like popping up at Amazon, like buy that thing now. So now is the question, how much money you really would have to spend to advertise that movies in the key markets that people know that movie now is out there, it exists. So, and then you can do the press work like what we're doing here right now, basically, right? So where you go on podcasts, you talk to people, you give some interviews, that costs almost nothing in a way, you know?
Right.
But then you need to buy it, like you have to put advertising on TikTok, on Instagram. If you don't do that, nobody will watch your fucking movie. And then it's the key question, how much money you actually need to do that? So that's why my state of mind is, I want to be independently able to generate money without begging Netflix to buy my movie. The problem is how you get in Latin America, the people, you just loaded it up in Spanish in Latin America as an example on Amazon, right? But how you get the people know that,
Right.
you know, and
Right.
my film freak, follow me on Instagram, no, like millions of people need to know it and say, I watch now that Run movie as an example, right? And so you need teasers out, you need advertising clips out, you need like traffic.
First Shift. I bought it for $15.99, by the way. I don't mind.
Oh.
I spent full price, so hopefully the check's in the mail. That's what I can give you for doing this interview, of course. But no, I bought it on the Xbox store. Okay. And I don't watch movies from Amazon. I don't have Amazon Prime. So, but I had on the Xbox store, it shows every week new films that came out, right? For a week. And I've been waiting for First Shift ever since we last talked about it. I had to physically type in First Shift and boom, it popped up. It wasn't in the queue of like new movies coming out this week, which I got kind of disappointed about.
That's the point, that distributors make always money, but producers not, you know, and that's for me a big problem. And I don't want that anymore. I want that I basically pay 4 or 5% to load those shit up everywhere, right? And I get 95% of the revenues against my investment. And then the only question is how much money you need additional to advertise that films. And, you know, or to focus on what's your target group, who's watching my movies, who can watch this. And then you go specifically into online, it's all online advertising. I mean, it's too expensive to do any real like radio spots, TV spots. That's all bullshit. I think you can focus totally on like social media posts.
So with regard to that, that is one thing that I will actively and always say, at least about my distributor, about Troma, is they have a built-in global audience that does watch their main accounts, and they're very good about promoting their new stuff, their new things, right? We got a big push. As a result, we played Italy back in October. We screened at Cine Underground, a wonderful little film festival in Busto Arsizio. Italians have seen us. We played in Brazil. Brazilians have seen us. We're coming to Troma now very soon. And, you know, people will see it. They do promote. The simple fact that marketing falls on you, and they still talk about this like 80-20 split, well, then what are you paying for? You're literally paying for someone to hit the enter button. And
Yes,
you can hit the enter button. I can hit that. I'm old. I'm 45. I know how to hit enter.
To hijack on you, Ben, a little bit, what James was talking about, the algorithm is also such a weird thing to navigate. I don't even understand it, and I run a website. So, like, they can hit upload, they can hit enter, but like James's experience, the algorithm didn't push it
right
to the recent movie section. So you're at the mercy of machine, I'll call it, you know, AI or whatever the algorithm is, that may or may not push your movie depending on what it thinks that its viewers want to see. Whereas, you know, as a filmmaker, you kind of know what your audience wants to see, like Uwe said.
Yeah.
You kind of get to understand like what they want to see. So it in a way, it's almost better to just do it yourself because you know your base, you know what they want, you know that they'll come to you. So I guess, you know, the online world has its pros and cons because you got the algo, but you also got your global network. Like, I couldn't imagine in like the 70s or something before the internet, like getting a global audience like that. It'd be interesting. success to you? Like
Good
when you sit
question.
down at the end of the day with a film, aside from the bottom line and making money, what do you think is a success?
No, I mean it's the worst is if you make a film and in the very end, and I had that various times. In the end, you're not happy with the result, right? So you feel like that could be way better, and where it went wrong. And of course, on some stuff like, for example, Rampage 2 and Rampage 3, I'm very happy with that movies, even if they were very cheap, right? So because I got the message across and we didn't fall apart in a way like Bill Williamson goes completely sideways. I think the style stayed the same, but of course with way less money as we had for part one, where we really opened up a real big action sequences. So, and I'm still proud of these two movies, even if I know, of course, if I would have like $500,000 more, I could open it more. But the worst is you make a movie and you feel like alone in the dark, right? So, for example, I would like to do it in retrospective, not only without Tara Reid, but also in totally different in a way, to set it up like more suspense and horror, less action creature movie. But I cannot say that I hate one of my movies. I don't hate any movie I did. I think all the movies are kind of watchable, and a lot of the movies are totally unfair bashed. And if you watch them now, I mean, compare Borderlands with House of the Dead. I think House of the Dead is 10 times better as Borderlands, even if it was $120 million. Had like big stars, and it was an unwatchable piece of shit. Like, I mean, that there's nothing to sugarcoat about that movie. And or the Joker 2. I mean, I thought I'm dreaming. Where you think like, what the fuck is that? And there are like and some people, they have so good reputation, they're getting away with everything. And you feel like, why are they getting away with it? Like, if I would did Joker 2, I would be dead. It's like Eli Roth is doing Borderlands and now opens a new horror studio, whatever, and I mean, after Borderlands, he should be like in a ditch somewhere. So, it's crazy.
Is there anything that you can, like, is First Shift your 100% your vision, or did you collaborate with someone? And if you could go back, would you change anything from First Shift?
No, I mean, I would not change. I would change the shooting order and the way we shot it. Like, that was crazy. But I would do different kind of shoot, like a different setup if I shoot the part 2, part 3. But I'm super happy with it. And it's absolutely a collaboration between me and the two actors. And I feel like that's the best thing as a director you should do. Like, if you have something what adds so much to it, you let it roll, right? So let these guys go and let these guys perform. And I had it in Citizen Vigilante. Armie Hammer is a super good actor, and he's a real action star. He got canceled for total bullshit, but it doesn't matter. So, that was good, because otherwise I would never get it. So, but he comes on set and he demands the set. It's like, the presence from him is similar to Jason Statham. Like, you really have somebody, he will lead the film. Like, boom, there's no question. And that's great. If you have an actor like this and you have him as a lead in an action movie where he has to demand the screen, that was a very positive feeling about it.
Wow.
So that's why I'm very happy with Citizen Vigilante too. Like, I'm very happy with the movie. I think Run will have a harder time, because Run is like, it has a lot of different characters. It's a big drama with a very violent ending. But Citizen Vigilante is like Rampage. It's like, he really goes for it, and that, I think that will actually, that people will definitely want to watch, so, and hopefully he comes back to a bigger star level after it. He did another movie now with William H. Macy. So I think slowly Hollywood, I mean, if he's not getting back now, he will never get back, because you know, he's on his peak. He's 39 years old. He's not like old or something. Like, I mean, and we have no leading actors. You know, Tom Holland is a dwarf. Like Armie Hammer is like 6'2" or 3. Like he's a real guy, right? You can really use that guy as an action star. Like Schwarzenegger, Stallone, they're all old. You know.
Sure.
Yeah. Naja.
Sure.
I have to check out.
All right, Uwe,
Okay.
thank you so much.
Uwe,
Thank you,
nice
Uwe.
to see you again. Thank you.
Come out
Thank you.
He's a director. He makes movies. Now he's on a show with Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson.
Mashed potatoes are great.